Domain I, Purpose of Internal Auditing. In our previous video, we discussed an overview of the Global Internal Audit Standards. The Global Internal Audit Standards has 5 domains, 15 principles, 52 standards. In our previous video, we discussed the fundamentals of the Global Internal Audit Standards. If you missed that, be sure to check it out to gain a solid understanding of the standards. Today, we'll dive deeper into Domain 1, Purpose of Internal Auditing. The standards begin with a purpose statement because, just like everything in life, it's important to establish purpose. A wise man once said, "When the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable." The purpose statement is intended to help internal auditors and their stakeholders to understand and articulate the value that internal auditing brings to an organization and the wider public. Internal auditing strengthens the organization's ability to create, protect, and sustain value as they provide the board and management with independent, risk-based, and objective assurance, advice, insight, and foresight. More specifically, internal auditing enhances the organization's successful achievement of its objectives, governance, risk management and control processes, decision-making and oversight, reputation and credibility with its stakeholders, ability to serve the public interest. But internal auditing is only most effective when certain conditions are met. It is most effective when 1. It is performed by competent professionals in conformance with the Global Internal Audit Standards, which are set in the public interest. 2. The internal audit function is independently positioned with direct accountability to the board. 3. Internal auditors are free from undue influence and committed to making objective assessments. Internal auditors can offer their most asset, objective assessments that assist organizations in navigating risk, enhancing governance, and serving the public interest, as they maintain their independence. Domain I sets the stage for understanding the true purpose of internal auditing. To learn more about Domain Y and how it fits into the broader framework of the Global Internal Audit Standards, visit www.theiia.org/standards. Global Internal Audit Standards, Domain 2, Ethics and Professionalism. Welcome to our deep dive into Domain 2 of the Global Internal Audit Standards, Ethics and Professionalism. In internal auditing, nothing is more critical than adhering to ethical principles and demonstrating professionalism. Ethics in internal auditing involves integrity, transparency, and acting in the best interest of the organization. Auditors must avoid conflicts of interest and remain independent in their work. Domain 2 emphasizes 4 key ethical principles. Integrity, acting honestly and consistently, ensuring trustworthiness in all aspects of the audit process. Objectivity, staying unbiased, basing conclusions on facts and evidence, not personal interests. Competence, maintaining and enhancing professional knowledge and skills to meet the highest standards. Due professional care requires planning and performing internal audit services with the diligence, judgment, and skepticism possessed by prudent and competent internal auditors. Confidentiality, safeguarding sensitive information obtained during audits, ensuring it is never misused. Professionalism is the cornerstone of trust. An auditor's ability to communicate findings openly, perform audits objectively, and maintain impartiality ensures the integrity of the entire process. Ethical dilemmas arise when an auditor is pressured to compromise, but according to Domain 2, auditors must always adhere to the ethical standards, even in difficult situations. Upholding these values protects both the auditor's integrity and the organization's reputation. Accountability is a key aspect of ethical behavior. Internal auditors are responsible for providing accurate, truthful reports that contribute to improved governance and risk management. Domain 2 highlights the importance of ethical leadership. Auditors must model ethical behavior to influence the broader organization, ensuring a culture of integrity and accountability. In internal auditing, ethics and professionalism are more than guidelines. They are the foundation of trust, ensuring that organizations operate with transparency and accountability.
Sentinel. 1G Sentinel.
Domain 3, governing the internal audit function. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Domain 3 of the Global Internal Audit Standards, governing the internal audit function. We'll explore how the board, senior management, and the chief audit executive collaborate to ensure an effective internal audit process. Let's get started. Domain 3 focuses on the governance arrangements that enable an effective internal audit function. This requires collaboration between the chief audit executive, the board, and senior management to ensure independence, authority, and oversight. Domain 3 is built on 3 key principles. 1. Authorized by the board. The internal audit function is established and approved by the board. 2. Positioned independently. The function must operate without interference. 3. Overseen by the board. The board ensures the function's effectiveness. There are 9 standards under Domain 3. 1. Internal audit mandate. 2nd, internal audit charter. 3rd, board and senior management support. 4th, organizational independence. 5th, chief audit executive qualification. 6th, board interaction. 7, resources. 8, quality. 9, external quality assessment. Let's look at the key requirements of Domain 3. 1. Internal audit mandate. The board establishes and approves the internal audit mandate. 2. Internal audit charter. The chief audit executive develops a charter function's purpose and responsibilities. 3rd, board and senior management support. Collaboration ensures recognition and promotion of the internal audit function. 4th, organizational independence. Independence is protected through direct reporting to the board. 5. Internal audit oversight. The board oversees resources, reviews results, and ensures effectiveness. Now let's make this interactive. Share your thoughts in the comments. What challenges do you face in implementing Domain 3? How do you foster collaboration between the board, senior management, and the chief audit executive? What are your best practices for ensuring independence in the audit function? By understanding and implementing Domain 3, organizations can ensure their internal audit function is well-governed, independent, and effective. Strong governance is the foundation of a successful internal audit process. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on internal audit and governance. Share this video with your colleagues and let's keep the conversation going. And we just hit 100 subscribers. Hooray! Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious and keep learning.
Auditing? More like a good friend. Get it? Because it's trustworthy? Today, we continue our journey through the standards that define and elevate our noble profession, internal auditing. Rest assured, this session promises to be just as insightful, engaging, and impactful as always. Today we're diving into Domain 4 of the Global Internal Audit Standards. So buckle up, buttercups, because things are about to get surprisingly interesting. Alright, let's kick things off with Principle 9. Plan strategically. Imagine you're building a house. You wouldn't just start slapping bricks together, would you? No, you'd need a blueprint, a plan, a vision. And that's exactly what Principle 9 is all about, creating a rock-solid roadmap for your internal audit function. First up, we've got Standard 9.1, understanding governance, risk management, and control processes. This is about knowing the lay of the land and understanding your organization's risk appetite. Next, we've got Standard 9.2, internal audit strategy. Think of this as your master plan to conquer the world of internal audit. And what good is a plan without the tools to execute it? Enter Standard 9.3, methodologies. Before you unleash your inner audit ninja, you need a solid game plan. And that's where Standard 9.4, internal audit plan comes in. Finally, we've got Standard 9.5, coordination and reliance. Because internal audit isn't a solo sport, you need to play well with others. Which of these standards do you think is difficult to achieve? Let us know in the comments below. Alright folks, let's talk resources. And no, I'm not talking about your secret stash of office supplies. I'm talking about the lifeblood of any successful internal audit function: money, people, and technology. First up, we've got Standard 10.1, Financial Resource Management. Managing your financial resources effectively is crucial to the success of your internal audit function. It's about making sure you've got the budget, the staff, and the tools to get the job done right. Speaking of staff, let's move on to Standard 10.2, Human Resources Management. This is all about having the right people in the right seats, driving in the right direction. And finally, we've got Standard 10.3, Technological Resources. You need the right technology to support your work, from data analytics software to cloud-based audit management systems. Principle 11, communicate effectively. Or as I like to call it, don't be a Wall Street whisperer. Okay folks, let's talk shop. Because in the world of internal audit, if you can't communicate effectively, you might as well be talking to a brick wall. Bad communication? That actively brings the whole operation down. So buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into Principle 11. Communicate effectively. First up on the agenda, we've got Standard 11.1, building relationships and communicating with stakeholders. It's about building trust, fostering open dialogue, and making sure everyone is on the same page. Next, we've got Standard 11.2, effective communication. Effective communication is an art form. It's about being clear, concise, and persuasive. Now let's talk about the main event, Standard 11.3, communicating results. This is where you get to share your findings, insights, and recommendations with the relevant stakeholders. But what happens when things go wrong? That's where Standard 11.4, errors and omissions, comes in. It's about having a clear process for acknowledging and correcting errors. And finally, we've got Standard 11.5, communicating the acceptance of risks. What's your go-to strategy for ensuring clear and impactful audit reports? Comment down below. Principle 12, enhance quality, because even the most talented actor needs a good producer. All right everyone, gather round, because it's time to talk about the unsung hero of the internal audit world, quality. First up, we've got Standard 12.1, internal quality assessment. Think of this as a regular checkup for your internal audit function. It's about taking a step back, evaluating your processes, and identifying areas for improvement. But self-reflection can only get you so far. You also need hard data, measurable results, the kind of stuff that makes spreadsheets sing. That's where Standard 12.2, performance measurement, comes in. And finally, we've got Standard 12.3, oversee and improve engagement performance. Enhancing quality is a journey, not a destination. What tools or practices do you use to measure and improve audit quality? Let's discuss in the comments. So there you have it, folks. Domain 4 of the Global Internal Audit Standards, demystified, dissected, and hopefully made just a little bit more digestible. We've covered everything from strategic planning to resource management, from effective communication to quality enhancement. Remember, internal audit isn't just about ticking boxes and dotting I's. It's about protecting your organization, improving its operations, and ensuring its long-term sustainability. So go forth and audit with confidence, my friends. Which principle resonated with you the most? Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on internal auditing. Want more details? Visit the official website of the Institute of Internal Auditors for the full standard.
Hello there! Today we conclude our series on the standards that guide our wonderful profession, internal auditing. Don't worry, it'll be as educative and fun as usual. We're focusing on Domain 5 of the Global Internal Audit Standards, which is like the visible part of internal auditing. It's important. So what's Domain 5 all about? In a nutshell, it's about making sure internal audit engagements are planned well, performed properly, and communicated clearly. Sounds simple, right? Well, like assembling IKEA furniture, it's a bit more complicated than it looks. This isn't just about ticking boxes. Domain 5 is the backbone of effective internal auditing. It ensures audits are relevant, add value, and actually help organizations improve. Without it, we're just wandering around in the dark, hoping to bump into some risks or observations.
Principle 13, plan engagements effectively. Internal auditors plan each engagement using a systematic, disciplined approach. Planning makes perfect, but only if you do it right. This principle is like that friend who plans their outfit a week in advance. They're prepared for anything. First up, we've got Standard 13.1, Engagement Communication. This standard says internal auditors must establish clear communication protocols, objectives, scope, and timing, before starting an engagement with management. Subsequent changes must be communicated with management timely. Then, Standard 13.2, Risk Assessment, jumps in and says, hey, don't forget to think about the risks relevant to the engagement and how you'll manage them. This is like checking the weather forecast before leaving the house. You don't want to get caught in the rain without an umbrella. Standard 13.3, Engagement Objectives and Scope, tells us that internal auditors need to figure out the objectives and scope of each engagement. Basically, what are we looking at and why? Standard 13.4, Evaluation Criteria. Internal auditors must identify the most relevant criteria to be used to evaluate the aspects of the activity under review defined in the engagement objectives and scope. The criteria could be internal policies and procedures, key performance indicators, or external laws and regulations. And of course, no plan is complete without resources. Standard 13.5, Resources, reminds us to allocate sufficient resources to the engagement. This means having enough skilled people, time, and technology to do the job properly. Standard 13.6, Work Program. We must develop and document an engagement work program to achieve the engagement objectives.
Principle 14. Conduct engagement work. Getting your hands dirty with engagement work. Now that we've got our meticulous plan, it's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work. Principle 14 is all about conducting the actual engagement, where internal auditors implement the engagement work program to achieve the engagement objectives. But it also acknowledges that sometimes life throws you a curveball. So it says it's okay to adjust the plan if needed, as long as you document the reasons and get approval. Next up, Standard 14.6, Engagement Documentation, tells us to document everything. Think of it like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. We need to be able to show our work and how we reached our conclusions. Finally, implementing the work program involves key activities covered under Principle 14, Standard 14.1, Gathering information for analyses and evaluation, Standard 14.2, Analyses and potential engagement findings, Standard 14.3, Evaluation of findings, all about making sure the information we collect and analyze is reliable and relevant. We don't want to build a case on hearsay and rumors, do we? Standard 14.4, Recommendations and Action Plans. Internal auditors must determine whether to develop recommendations, request action plans from management, or collaborate with management to agree on actions.
Principle 15. Communicate engagement results and monitor action plans. We've planned, we've worked, and now it's time to share our findings. Principle 15 is all about shouting it from the rooftops, or at least to the right people. Standard 15.1, Final Engagement Communication says for each engagement, internal auditors must develop a final communication that includes the engagement's objectives, scope, recommendations and/or action plans if applicable, and conclusions. The final engagement must be accurate, objective, clear, concise, constructive, complete, and timely. No one wants to wade through a 100-page report filled with jargon, but it's not enough to just deliver the report and walk away. This standard reminds us to discuss our findings and recommendations with management. We need to make sure they understand what we found and what they can do about it. And lastly, Standard 15.2. Confirming the implementation of recommendations or action plans tells us to follow up on any agreed-upon actions. We need to make sure those recommendations don't just gather dust on a shelf somewhere.
Real-world practical example. Because theory is great, but practice is better. Let's say you're auditing the expenses of a sales team. Principle 13 says you need a plan. This means defining your objectives. Are you looking for fraudulent claims or just inefficiencies? You also need to determine the scope. Will you be looking at all expenses or just a sample? Principle 14 comes in when you start examining those expense reports. You'll need to document your procedures, analyze the data, and identify any red flags. Finally, Principle 15 is all about communicating your findings. This could be a written report, a presentation, or even an informal conversation. The key is to be clear, concise, and to the point.
the bottom line, why all this matters for a better tomorrow. So, there you have it, Domain 5 in all its glory. It may seem like a lot of requirements, but trust me, it's all in the name of good governance. By following these principles and standards, internal auditors can help organizations identify and manage risks, improve operations, and achieve their objectives. Think of it this way, Domain 5 is like the unsung hero of the business world, quietly working behind the scenes to enhance an organization's ability to serve the public interest. And that's something worth celebrating, even if it doesn't involve confetti and cake. Want to learn more? Visit the Institute of Internal Auditors official site for the complete Global Internal Audit Standards. If you have not seen the videos for Domain 1, 2, 3, and 4, please check them out in the description box below. Please subscribe, like, and share.